So last weekend, December 10th, marked my 3 year journey into Dr. Joe. Life-changing journey 3 years ago. But I will first tell you how I got into it, what brought me into it, before I tell you how everything has all changed. But my wife Gwen has had kidney disease, and right up till 2010, before she went on dialysis in 2012, but the 2 years before, with her function being, close to that 10%, 9% kidney function, it's not a fun place to be, because mentally you're struggling because there's so many toxins in your body, and physically you're struggling because of the energy. So it was very hard for her to maintain a normal life, and for us to, just to be living with that. But then in 2012, she went on dialysis for 3.5 years, and dialysis is by all means not a cure. It's very much a band-aid, solution to a bad problem. Like, she was on home dialysis 5 nights a week. We couldn't go anywhere for more than a day and a half. She was up, like I say, every night, start at 7 o'clock, and it really, we never hardly had a life together. I was working at my shop, and when I was home, she was on dialysis. It was a real struggle for our relationship for those 3.5 years, and it was very hard on her emotionally and physically, like, not good at all. But finally, after 3.5 years of dialysis, in 2015, in June 2015, she had a kidney transplant, and we were just like, wow, we won the lottery. She had a kidney transplant, and that all turned really, really bad on us. Starting when she was in the hospital, she started getting back pains, and she got home and the back pains got worse, and eventually the pain was so bad we had to get some MRIs done, and the prognosis, or what the doctors told her, was the drugs they gave her for her transplant had taken her, her osteopenic bones, where she went into surgery. They were bad, but they weren't super bad. The drugs they gave her basically wrecked her bones. Her doctors told her, her bones were paper thin. She had 8 compression fractures and lost 2 inches in height. And they said, there's nothing we can really do for you. You're 2 inches shorter, go home. And that was it. And so we went from a kidney transplant where we thought we won the lottery because we got our lives back and everything, to this real kick in the gut where, holy smokes, is she going to make it? Is she going to get through this second part of her struggle? But she knew about Dr. Joe. She got into, her injuries were very, very similar to his. So she got doing the work. She was 3 months bedridden, July, August, September of 2015. That was only 4 years ago. And then she was with a walker for 3 months. She was determined that she wasn't going to let her get this down, and Dr. Joe's work gave her the hope. And she did finally start walking outside in January, February of 2016, and she was determined to get to a workshop of his in Seattle. She just wanted to be good enough to get there, to Seattle, to get to his progressive and get into the work and be better. And she did that. The 3 months bedridden was wild. I was a caregiver. It wasn't fun. And then 3 months with a walker. Those 6 months were really hard on a relationship again. Like, we had years of this struggle with her kidney disease and the transplant, and then the broken back. So finally she goes in May of 16 into the progressive, and I saw the change in her physically and mentally, and it kind of struck a inquisitive in me, like, hey, this, she went, and this is good, but 2016 was a really, really terrible year for me, with depression, with anxiety, and with anger. I'd get angry at every little thing. It didn't matter whether facts didn't come through or whatever. I was angry at life because it had changed our relationship. The disease, the transplant, the broken bones, all that stuff had changed our relationship. It changed who we were, and I had no idea how to get us back, to what we were, or if that was, if that was even possible. So through 2016, I struggled like Gwen didn't. Gwen was in a good place, but man, I was just I didn't realize how depressed I was. I didn't realize how angry I was. But in October of that year, I was going to Florida to a motorcycle event, and Gwen said, "Do you want to read Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself on the way there?" And I thought, yeah, it's all right. I'll read it. I'll read it. I understand. I kind of understand what his work was, but not really. And so I read it. I read it on the way there. I read it on the way back. Came home, and she kept bugging me. Do you want to go to his last progressive in Philadelphia in December of 2016? And I was kind of like an alcoholic. I was so addicted to the anger and the depression that I didn't say yes to her. She kept asking me, and finally she said, "Okay, this is the last time. I'm not going to ask you again. Do you want to go?" And I just said, "Yeah, but let's book it." And it's the best thing I ever did in my whole life. I had no idea. I went to Philadelphia to the Progressive with an open mind, with a will to change, and a want for a better life. I wanted my relationship back with my wife. I didn't want to feel, I guess I wasn't really mad at her. I was mad at the kidney disease for what it did to us and how it changed everything. And I wanted normal back and for our relationship. And that was never going to be, but I needed to be good in where we were, and I couldn't do that. So fast forward to December 2016, I went to the 2-day progressive, and on this Sunday in the one meditation where you're asked to leave your emotions at the altar for your higher self to deal with, in my mind, that is where I had a miracle, mental, spiritual healing. When that meditation was over, I jumped up, went to the washroom, came back, sat beside the lady I was sitting beside the whole time, and we started chatting about things. And I realized that first, everything I realized was some back pain that I had was gone. Had about 5 or 10%, back pain, nagging back pain in my lower back, and that was not miraculously, but it disappeared. And then that evening, all through that evening, there was a calm in my life that I've never had. Got up in the morning for my flights home. Everybody that I dealt with was absolutely calm. Didn't matter, it was the checkout at the hotel, the taxi driver, the airport, the check-in at the airport, people I chatted with at the airport in Philadelphia. I seemed to be in an absolutely different, totally calm world. Flew to Toronto. In Toronto, I got on the airplane, seat my wife had picked for me, sat beside a lady, and this is really wild. I sat beside this lady, and we each just said, hey, she was in Toronto for the weekend. I was in Philadelphia. We never said much more, but halfway through the flight, she said, do you want to know why I was in Toronto? I said, sure, if you want to tell me. And she said, I was flown to, she reached into the airline seat ahead of her, pulled this envelope out and showed me, and in that envelope was her name and the fact that she won $1 million just 8 hours before I sat beside her on the plane in a lottery contest. And I'm thinking to myself, Dr. Joe said to watch for little signs and watch for big signs. I'm going like, this is a big sign. That was a really nice sign for me to see, so soon, getting away from that event. But I knew in my mind the real test for me is when I got home how I'd feel when I got to the airport and saw Gwen. And when she was there waiting for my baggage, I gave her a big hug, and I knew we were back. She didn't. She didn't know what happened to me, but I knew we were back. And that was just, my heart just about exploded on that. And I just thought to myself, you know what? I just got to give her the time to see the changes in me. And she did. She took, over the days, the next day, she saw the changes in me, the calmness, the everything else that went with it. I mean, I was a different person, a totally different person. I'd let go of all that shitty stuff that we had to deal with, and I was probably I know I was in a better place than even before her health started deteriorating. 7-8 years before. I've never been in such a good place. So, the last 3 years, I've hardly missed a day of meditating. I keep on doing the work. I did get a physical healing after doing the work for a little over a year and a half. My back pain came back for whatever reason. It came back worse for a year and a month or two. And I just kept meditating, on tuning into new potentials, being physically well and everything, and doing the Blessings Energy Center. And one morning, January 2 years ago, after a really bad, a long working day, came home, Gwen had to take my boots off, help me get into bed. She says, "How are you going to be in the morning?" I said, "I don't know, we'll see." I got up that morning, came downstairs. She says, "How are you?" I said, "This is really weird. I have zero back pain, and I've had no back pain since." So to me, it's do the work, and eventually something like that will just kick in your health, or it'll, fix your health, or it'll kick in and it'll clear you mentally and spiritually. And Gwen's on her own path. I've been to the Progressive, been to an advanced in Indian Wells a couple of years ago, been to Toronto a week long. And we both are in a really good place. We feel we owe our lives to Dr. Joe. Gwen's health, I mean, the doctors gave her nothing. They gave her no hope. So had they not given her that, I'm not sure what she would have done. Bedridden wasn't an option for her. So, thank God we didn't have to do that. She's healed herself, let the healing in. And she's just a miracle in her own. She has a testimonial on Dr. Joe's site about healing her bones and all that good stuff. And she is my miracle. She's my example. She's a very, very strong woman, and shows me a lot about life. And I love her to pieces. And I'm glad we both found Dr. Joe, and we have such an awesome life because of following his work and doing the work and being dedicated to it. And if one other person can listen to this and go, "Hey, I need to do that," or it makes their life just a little bit better, then that's awesome. But we continue doing the work. The other thing I'll say is I've got that Dr. Joe Dispenza students map that I created, and it is about connecting with people. I've connected with people in Phoenix through that map. Looked on the map when we were traveling to Phoenix. Went and had dinner with a few ladies. Never met them before. It was just awesome. I've done it with a lady in Florida, and we've made that special effort to go and meet people. And having contact info on the Dr. Joe Dispenza students map is awesome. So please go, and if you've got your name on the map already but no contact info, send me a PM and I'll do whatever. I'll put your contact info on there. Or if you're not on the map yet, please put yourself on the map. But there has to be a contact info because we're limited to the number of pins or locations on there. So we have to keep it limited to people who really, really want to contact others. So I guess that is my testimonial. I will leave it at that, and I'll wish you all a Merry Christmas and all the best. Thank you.